one about karma and all this, we'll talk about this tomorrow. Because it's good that we do go through the teachings. Did you do the exercise? And? What? What does it mean? Huh? What happened? Huh? Powerful in what way? Huh? And so what's the kind of, what's so powerful about it? What happens when you think like this?
You want to look more about the...
Yeah, that's one effect. It's very easy to be mindful. All of a sudden you're really present. And you see this and you see that, and it's like, yeah, all of a sudden it's not that you get depressed. This is the funny thing. You know, this is what people think. When I think so much about death, I will be depressed. It's actually the opposite. Because all of a sudden we really start to appreciate life. Even if it's very difficult. Yeah? What else did somebody notice, maybe? Except for that.
Really enjoy the...
Yeah, all of a sudden we enjoy everything. It's so simple. It is so simple, isn't it? What would you like to say something?
Things were beautiful, tasty, and precious.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is why we do it. Not just for that, not just to be in the moment, oh, wonderful, but really to then make something out of this life that we have, because it's much easier to also be kind and open towards others when your mind is open, and much easier to be of benefit to others when your mind is open. And when you come, you have a wish to be, like then it's not an effort. Then it's almost terrible when other people don't let you help, in a way, not in a sick way, but it's kind of, yeah. If they don't allow you to help, then that's fine, you offer it. Yeah? But it's like this spontaneous kind of being able to reach out to people. Yeah? I don't know if that happens to you sometimes also when I walk in the street, because I have a tendency to look at people because they look at me, so it's always safe for me to look back, instead of kind of trying to pretend that nobody's looking. Because I look weird, okay? With these clothes, no hair. Even small babies. I don't know if you saw the man with the dog and the little baby down there. So it's a very tiny baby, maybe a year and a half years old. I came out of the dining room, baby was going. So even babies sometimes. But then I look at people and all of a sudden I feel a connection without any words. But like a real connection. I don't feel alone, and my heart opens, and we just pass each other like no big deal. Yeah, but just like this. So, so for that, this meditation is very, very helpful. Anybody else would like to say about this? What you have experienced? Anybody had negative experiences? Something that you would say, oh no, I'm not going to do that again. That's not helpful. Can happen also. Fear, panic, guilt, shame, these kind of things. Nobody?
For me the food was very tasty, but there was also sadness involved. It was something,
Yeah.
it was also sad.
Yeah. It's okay to be sad when we think about this, because especially when you have experienced it, you have to let go of a very dear one. It's okay to be sad. Even Buddhists are sad. It's a sad occasion when somebody that is very close to you goes, and you will never meet them again in that form. Maybe Buddhists are able to overcome grief quicker. Also, not just Buddhists, I think also Asian people. If you look like, we used to do social work in India, in Madhya Pradesh, with the Adivasi, which are tribal people. It's the lowest of the low. They don't even have a caste. Yeah, I mean, it's bad if you don't belong to a caste, or you're really bottom. And so, they're very poor. But I like, in a way, I would come home sometimes and just throw myself on the bed in the evening and just cry. And I see that, I'm not making that much of a difference. Because I remember one evening a baby had just died down in the hospital because of malnutrition and no money and, no time to really care. But all of a sudden also I thought, what are you crying about? You're not the one who's losing the baby. Pull yourself together and be happy about the little things that you can do. So they're also sad when babies die, and there's great wailing actually. They're very noisy when somebody dies. Well, be it a baby, be it an old person, they wail. They sometimes even invite people to come and wail with them, like cry, like loud. But they can let go quite quickly. Also, maybe here also because the funerals happen so quickly, and the dead body's not in a box; it's also just covered by a cloth. Because in Bodh Gaya we had at the beginning of Root Institute. I don't know how many of you know Root Institute. So of course, Root Institute was the Buddhist center, but it was combined with a school who was starting with one class, one teacher, one class outside with a blackboard, and there were maybe 6 students. Some were that size, others were that size. We didn't check, about age. It was just whoever would like to come to that school, come. Now they have about 500 children, so like 20 years later, and big building, and very good teachers, and very good teaching lessons also because methods, because they try to include Buddhism. But what's the nice thing there, when you come into the schoolhouse, you have the hall when you enter, and each side there's like a little alcove, and each alcove has its own altar. And about there are the signs of Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, and Sikhism. So that kind of all is present here. For them, for the Indians, secular doesn't mean no religion, it means all religions have the same right. And each alcove has their own altar, so the kids of that particular religion can, if they want, can kind of then prepare the altar. So it's very nice. It's an all-inclusive kind of thing. So, but also at the same time, they were thinking about having one wing was the school, and then one other wing was, I can't remember what it was called. It was a kind of hospice. So it had 4 or 5 beds in it, and a nurse, I think, and the jeep was going out a little bit like, mini Mother Teresa. Like the jeep was going out trying to find dying beggars that nobody takes care of. Because in India, if he's not of your family, you don't care. That's it. Somebody can die of thirst next to you, and both of your beggars, you have water, don't help them. What happens is that they rip off a little bit of fake jewelry that you have, like really like, yeah. Or the one that we found, she had her toe that was ripped off because there was a ring on it, and infected and all that. So we would collect them so that they could come and die there, kind of in comfort and in peace. So this is the first time I was actually in direct contact with dying people, and I was very grateful. And I could see that even beggars, some die peacefully, but others also, they cling and cling and cling to this existence. It's amazing to see how difficult it is for them to go also, even though they don't possess anything and are alone. Because the ones who were there, we tried to find relatives, but we never could. Sometimes we couldn't even find out the name because they were already delirious. What you see there in terms of suffering, gross suffering, physical suffering is like... People come to Bihar, and you see these mud huts covered with palm trees in villages, very quiet, because they don't have cars or anything, and you think, wow, it's so peaceful here. Ooh, what goes on behind these walls is big, big suffering. So, yeah, so then that's why we kind of want to make it sadness, that's what I wanted to say, like even there, And even then also, when somebody that you didn't know, but you knew her, it was, I think when I was there, it's only women, it was a man, but we knew them a little bit, and still when they finally go, one hand you're relieved because their suffering is finished, but on the other hand also you're sad because they don't live anymore. But what I wanted to say is that, so it's these two wings, the school and the hospice. So when somebody would die, they would be the body would be washed, brought out, put on a stretcher with a very nice transparent cloth and flowers, and then, we put on the tape recorder, or money by me home, to give him some good imprints. And the kids would come and pass them. The dead body lying on the stretcher on the floor, waiting for the guys to come and pick it up and bring to the cremation ground. And so the kids are more, one is more in touch with death there. It's not that they don't suffer, but I think it's a bit more a natural thing that yes, one dies. Then here you will imagine here, a kid dies. For some parents, life is finished because they, feel very responsible, feel very guilty. They were not able to protect it. They blame, like the doctors or the person who drove the car or whatever. So, yeah. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. It's good to, if you can, to also when you have friends, at my age, when one has friends who are in the process of dying, go visit them. Don't be afraid. Some people say, oh, I don't want to go, I don't know what to talk about when I'm there. You don't need to talk, you just need to be present. Yeah? Because you think, with living people, we talk about the future and about plans and all this. So with somebody who is dying, you can talk about death. You'll be surprised how open they are to talk about this, because that is relevant for them, because it's coming. Yeah. So, but very often we're shy, when we're kind of, how would you dare to approach somebody and say, oh, I think you're dying, how do you feel? How do you feel about this? Not sure. Yeah. The very nice story that I always tell is what Tsongtsa Khyentse Rinpoche, he had one of his students dying in the hospital, or in the hospice. And so he went to visit him, and next to him was the very young man, truck driver, lying in bed and also dying. But he was in a very good mood. And so Rinpoche was he asked him, he said, oh, you're so young and you have to die, aren't you disturbed by this? So he said, well, I'm not important, I'm just a truck driver. The world is not going to miss me when I die, so why should I be sad? Wow. Yeah. Another thing also with us, we're so concerned about those we leave behind that they will suffer so much when we're not around anymore. They might, but maybe not. Maybe they find a better partner. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows? Okay. So, do you want to say something about this topic, or do you have questions or comments? Otherwise, I go to the questions here. You're all okay with this? We're all fine. Do we need more chairs? We can bring more chairs. Oh no, we need this one. There's another one there if you need. Yeah, by all means, if you cannot sit comfortably on the floor anymore, then do sit on a chair. It's better than to lie on the floor unless you're sick, then it's fine. But if you're not sick, you shouldn't get into the habit of lying on the floor while you're practicing. Because it's not so inspiring for me when I see everybody lying around. And me, I'm okay. But if it's a Tibetan teacher, they have actually a vow not to teach people who are lying down, not to teach people who are carrying weapons, not to teach people who don't show respect, all these kind of things. Yeah. Okay. So, what does the Buddha say about developing fascination for old body, about dry flowers, dying things? I don't know who asked this question, because I don't understand what you mean.
said that we are too fascinated about our body, but sooner or later we're gonna get old, and then.
You
what's the
think
point
so?
of- Huh?
And you think you will not be fascinated by your body anymore?
No, you said yesterday that we are too much fascinated by
Yeah?
our body, or by the flower, but
No,
eventually.
flowers no. Flowers I took as an example, we're not you're not attached to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right. What I was just asking is, what about like developing our mind to be fascinated about the body, whether it's old or young, whether the flower is dry or new?
Yeah, of course. Fascinated, it depends what you mean by fascinated.
That's just the word you used.
Yeah, fascinated, I mean, a lot of interest goes into it, you know.
Yeah.
So, if, like there's attraction there, like attachment, yeah, we can't get our mind off. Flowers, no, I don't think somebody is like, oh, wow, look at them, they're so beautiful. Yeah, I mean, if you have an old body and you're taking care of it, that's fine. You should, because then your life is easier, and also you can think, well, okay, my body is old, but it still functions. Whereas people who have been very beautiful, and I have a very good example that I knew personally, is Greta Garbo. I don't know if that name means anything to you. Yeah, the older generation, of course. She was called the Divine, was a Swedish actress. And I was working in a sports shop in Swiss mountains, and she lived nearby. And I don't know if you know the story. She was impoverished. She hadn't any money left. She was very shy. She was very depressed. She, from my side, she was 70 at that time. She looked still very beautiful, but she tried to hide. She always hid behind the very big black sunglasses and the big hat. And she's very tall, and she had very broad shoulders. So you could see from afar who was coming. She didn't want to be recognized, but you could see from afar who was coming. And we were not allowed to approach her. Like, only one person that she felt comfortable with was able to go and ask, can I help you, and show her the things. She only came when we had sale, and she was living with Deborah Carr, which is also another actress who kind of took her in. So it's a very sad story. Like, if she would have been, somebody who hasn't been beautiful, when they start to age and the signs of it, you don't care. Whereas if you have been so stunningly beautiful and identifying with that beauty, and you've been so famous, then it's very, very difficult to then be able to accept that you're getting fat and, like wrinkles and all this. I usually tell people sometimes my friends who look very well in Switzerland after their bodies, they say, shall I give you some cream for your wrinkles? I say, yeah, they don't hurt, it's okay. I'm more worried about my knees than my wrinkles. I'm absolutely not worried about my wrinkles, they don't hurt. So it's okay. This is when you get old. This is a sign of old age. Now, it's not pleasant. If somebody would come and tell me, what would you want in your body? I would take it, definitely. Body without pain. Doesn't need any care. It's fine. It gets really on my nerves when I had these 2 operations. So much time I had to spend with the body, going to that therapy and this therapy and doing that exercise and this exercise. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm happy I don't have to do that all the time. So does that really answer your question? Is like, seeing the impermanence of it. So whether the body is old or new, actually, is because there's this story about the Buddha, before he attained enlightenment, that Mara, which is supposed to be, or they call it like the negative side, yeah, of like devil or I don't know, Satan or something like that. So he saw that somebody was about to attain enlightenment, so of course he was disturbed. It's just metaphorical, okay? It's like, and so he sent out armies in order to bring the Buddha out of his meditation. But he wasn't faced by these arms, and he just kept sitting. So it said that the arrows turned into flowers. It's like saying, when somebody is aggressing you, physically, of course, then you have to run away if you can. And but if somebody is aggressing you kind of, with words or mentally, if you don't react, it falls apart very, very, very quickly. Yeah, so that's what it means. So he was not afraid of the weapons, he just kept sitting. This is maybe then, your answer when there's pain. He was not afraid of pain, he just kept sitting. So And then Mara thought, that didn't work. So he sent out, it said, his 3 pink-footed nymph daughters, like very beautiful women. But the Buddha, or he was not the Buddha yet, but he already had a mind that could see, like in the future. So he saw them how they would look when they're 80 years old. So he thought, it's not worthwhile to kind of end my meditation because of that. You see, when we're so fascinating is like this. Fascination makes it permanent, makes it non-changing. Like if at the wedding, you look at your grandmother and you think, wow, my wife is going to look like this when she's that age. I'm not sure how you would feel towards your wife. And I'm going to look like my Saba. So I'm not sure if that the same attraction, if the glue that you need for such a relationship, you need it. You need attachment for a relationship, for it to hold, or unconditional love, which is incredibly difficult to develop. So I'm not sure if people would then, still want to be together. But when you get married, if you love the person, you are convinced that you're going to love this person forever and ever and ever. And then the men, I have to say, if they exchange their wives for somebody who's 20 years younger, if you look at the younger woman, looks stunningly like the other one who looked the way she looked when she was younger. They just exchange it. Not everybody, but it happens. Yeah. So the fascination is by not seeing the nature, by making it permanent. Okay, by thinking that it won't change.
Maybe I can ask, sharpen myself a bit. Let's say someone, I'm asking what does Buddhism says about seeing the beauty in the old body, for example, in the dying part of our life.
You see, Buddhism doesn't see any beauty nowhere.
I see.
Because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Beauty is in your mind. You kind of project the beauty on the whole thing. There's no beauty coming from that side.
That's why I use the word develop. Correct.
What does Buddhism say about developing fascination for old body?
You can switch the word fascination with beauty, developing beauty for these kind of things.
But then what would that help? I mean,
I don't know.
in what way is that beneficial?
For example, when you see a beautiful flower, you feel some pleasant feelings. If you can program yourself to always feel that whenever you're looking at it.
Exactly.
So
But it doesn't need to be old. It can be anything. It can be a cup.
Yeah.
By thinking, I can feel, I can touch, I can see. Somebody made this cup. I can drink from this cup. May these people who made this cup, may they be happy. Then it becomes something meaningful. If it's just a good feeling. You see, the good feeling that comes from looking at things, we talk about this tomorrow, is a karmic result. Nothing more than that. Nothing less, nothing more. Nothing coming from this side. Only coming from that side. Your relationship to the object. That's it. And this is what we have to understand. So there's no need to develop aversion or attachment. Because now, yeah, so like this. Okay? So then the second question, you said nothing is permanent. I didn't say that. What about the awareness of the self? I said all compounded phenomena are impermanent. We didn't compounded, put together. This has parts, and they need to come together in order to become a cup. Yeah, that's compounded. A collection of things. So everything that is a collection of things is impermanent. That means at one point it will fall apart. Impermanent doesn't just mean changing moment by moment by moment by moment. Impermanence also means it will fall apart at one point. Now here's a difficult question. What about the awareness of the self? Well, awareness, it doesn't have to be awareness of the self, it's just awareness in general. So there are a few things that are permanent, but they have no function. For example, uncompounded space is permanent. Uncompounded space is the space that exists that I can put the cup in it. That is permanent. It doesn't change moment by moment by moment. Is it too much put? Yeah? Is that the problem? So now I can, you have to tell me, so then I can fiddle around with it. Emptiness is permanent, but permanent doesn't mean eternal. Permanent means not changing, moment by moment by moment, and not having a function. Now there's one school who says, yes, space has a function, meaning you can put things in it. But that's not an active function. Who is it? The Vaibhashikas or somebody? Anyway, we're not going to go there.
It's not only putting things in it, I can learn about it, so this is the function. That's what they say.
Yeah, so it's kind of, so you can debate about this. But not a direct function, and it has, space also has parts, it has like south, east, like it has sides, yeah? But it's not caused by anything. It's not that it doesn't have a cause.
Also time.
Huh?
Also time, first moment.
Time is time goes
time
into
of the phenomena. It has parts,
Yeah.
also the first moment, second moment.
Yeah.
Parts of time.
This one, okay. Thank you. So, so awareness is eternal, but not permanent, because it has a function. It changes. Whether I'm looking at the cup is a different awareness than when I'm looking at the flower, because something else appears in it. Okay. So that's why it has no beginning. It has no end. So that's why awareness is impermanent, because it's changing, but it's eternal. Okay? Emptiness, which is permanent, so the emptiness of this cup, like the lack of really inherently existing cup, is not eternal, because when the cup goes, the emptiness of it also goes. Or let's say this cup and its impermanence are one. If you have cup, you also have the impermanence of cup. When the cup goes, the impermanence of cup goes. So you don't have an impermanence hanging somewhere or an emptiness hanging somewhere without the thing, without conventional reality that is empty of inherent existence. So they always come together. Okay?
How is awareness changing?
Huh?
How is awareness changing?
By having different mental factors, by having different objects in it, and it's moment by moment by moment by moment.
So
The nature is the same.
The mental factors are changing, or
Huh?
the mental factors are changing, or the awareness itself?
You can't divide, whatever is mental factor is also mind, but not every mind is mental factor. You can't divide the two. You can't take mind away from mental factors. Okay? Do you see what I mean? So of course the mental factors change. Like I can have love for somebody, I can have aversion for somebody.
Yeah. Isn't awareness just the knowing of it?
The knowing of it. She is good at these kind of nicky-picky things.
all sorts of mind. Mind is awareness. All sorts of different minds are changing moment to moment. They are all impermanent. There's no one single mind which is permanent. They're changing moment to moment, whether it's mental factor or main mind or direct mind or indirect. All sorts of mind are changing moment to moment.
You have to put the camera on her.
Sorry.
Anyway, there's debate about this also, like especially Buddha nature. Is Buddha nature impermanent or is it permanent? So there's different views on it. So if you're really interested in it, then you have to look at the different schools, like the Nimas, the Kargyus, the Gelug's, and so forth. They will. Also, when Kelsang Wamo comes, Geshe-ma, she'll be able to answer these questions.
The first course
She
is
has-
about mind.
The first course is, when she comes, is about mind. It's really interesting because then you get it from an expert. Sometimes I prefer not to answer these things because I don't want to say things that are kind of confusing you even more. Believing I won't get enlightenment in this life is not also a limiting belief. Well, I'm talking